Thumbs up? Okay. Okay. Call a meeting to order of the Madera County Civil Service Commission. It's a regular meeting on Tuesday, April 20th, 2021 at 5:35 PM. Special notice regarding public participation due to COVID-19. In an effort to follow the California Department of Public Health guidance regarding the use of face coverings, those individuals attending Civil Service Commission meetings held in the Madera County Board of Supervisors chambers are required to wear face coverings. This falls within the guidelines of being in a high-risk situation when in an indoor public space and/or interacting in person with any member of the public. Those individuals exempted from wearing face coverings due to a medical condition should wear a non-restrictive alternative, such as a face shield with a drape on the bottom edge. Public comment this time is made available for comments from the public on matters within the Civil Service Commission's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Seeing no one, we will move on to the consent calendar. Oh.
You want a
No.
motion?
Hang on a minute. Doesn't sound like you're on. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This one works.
We can hear Michelle. Sure.
Veronica. Okay. Item A and B, we'd like to request a removal of those items from the agenda for today.
So 3A and 3B.
Yes, please.
Do we need a motion on that?
I think
we
you do
do.
because you're modifying the agenda.
Yeah, I think we do too. Okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second it?
Okay, we have a motion and second to remove from the agenda 3A and 3B.
Thank you.
This time we'll go to 3C, 7174, consideration to amend classification specification, fire prevention officer, consideration of amendment to classification plan, revision of classification specification, adoption of classification specifications, and approval of salary recommendations and overtime status, unit designations for fire prevention inspector 2 and 3, as outlined in discussion section on the agenda item.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
did we vote on the consent calendar?
I was
Oh.
just going to say.
No, not yet. We'll have to go back to that.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm glad you reminded me. Thank you.
Do you guys want to do consent first before we vote with the items?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Do we have any discussion on the consent calendar? Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the consent calendar. Second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call?
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry,
Yes.
Commissioner Elizabeth Weiser,
Yes.
sorry,
Yes.
Commissioner Myers.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote.
Okay, now 3C. Go ahead.
Okay, so first, I would like to just make a modification to the recommended action item. We're actually recommending that we create 3 classifications, which is a fire prevention inspector 1, 2, and 3, and the action item only indicates 2 and 3. So before the action is made, we just need to make sure that that's the level 1 is indicated as well. So we met with the department and reviewed some of the duties that are being performed by some of the individuals in these levels, and realized that the department really needs 3 levels to be able to have employees come in and work themselves up into the higher level. This is one of the hard to fill positions that we have, and in working with them, we realized that if they started at the level 1, the department can actually work with the employees and help them move up to the different levels. So Sabrina worked with the department as well and helped create these classifications with TWE. And so we're recommending to the commission that they approve the classifications. The unions have already agreed to the recommended changes in creating the 3 different levels. I believe there's only one employee. So there's one employee that would stay at the level 1, and the department can always have the option of doing the promotion by competitive standards to move them up to the different levels. But at this point, this is what we're recommending, is that we go from one classification to 3 different levels, and with the recommended salaries to the board for their approval.
Okay. Discussion on that?
Well, considering it's in Oakers, I'm all for it, so I move that we,
I think fire prevention is pretty important, especially around here in a drought year.
So is that for 1, 2, and 3?
yes.
I
So-
second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry, Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Myers.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote.
3D 7171, consideration to amend classification specification permit technician, consideration of amendment to classification plan, revision of classification specification, reallocation employee, adoption of classification specifications, and approval of salary recommendations / overtime status / unit designations for permit technician 1 and 2 as outlined in the discussion section of the agenda item.
So this is another one that we need to make sure that the recommended action reflects the 3 levels for permit technician 1, 2, and 3. So this one's a little bit backwards. Instead of moving down to a 1 level and starting from the 1 level, the employees that were there were already working at the 3 level, but this is another hard to fill position that when we're hiring for individuals, they can't meet that higher level at the 3. So the department recommended that we create a series of classifications to allow employees to come in, get trained, and move up through the series till they get to the 3 level. So we're recommending a permit technician 1, 2, and 3. The unions have already agreed to the recommended salary ranges as well as the recommended changes to the classifications. And so if the commission approves, we will take these back to the board for approval for the salaries.
I think there might be a typo on item 5 and item 4. I'm not sure which one, because line 4 is a range of $3,422.48 a month to $4,160 per month, or $41,069.72 to $49,920.52. And then if you look at the 2, it's got a higher range per month, but the annual salary is the same. I think it might just be a little typo there.
We do need to address that. So let me pull it up before you make a motion. The correct information.
Is that what you were going to discuss? I thought you wanted, is that what you were going to
No.
discuss?
So before we make a motion, I do have a question.
Yeah, I have a question too. Go ahead, Tom.
Elba, you said, if I understood you right, if they're a 1 or a 2 and they're not qualified to be a 3, there will be training to make them comply with being a 3?
Yeah, so right now, all of the employees that are in the classification will be at the 3 level. Anybody coming in new to the county will start at the 1 level. We'll try to hire at the 1 or a 2 level,
Okay.
and then allow them to promote up to a 3 level. I think that the 3 level requires a specific licensure and experience, and that's where we were having a hard time recruiting for the department. So they indicated having the series where it was a little bit easier to recruit and not having so many requirements for them, and allowing them to be trained to move up to those levels within the county.
The ones that are going to become 3s have those licenses now?
Yeah.
Okay, but why is this different than what we've been doing?
So we really haven't been able, and Sabrina can answer more about the recruitment, but we really haven't been able to get people to apply at that level or because right now it's just a permit technician. and we don't get people qualified to meet the requirements that we have right now that are specific to that level of classification. So to bring somebody in, the department says that they really should be already working here and learning how to do that trade and come in and work up their ways up to that third level. Because somebody that has a license are probably not going to move from another place to come over here. They're going to stay with that other organization.
So we're going to be training our own people then to be what we want them to be.
Yeah.
And hopefully they stay put, not go somewhere else after they've been trained.
Exactly.
Always the fear.
Bill, did you?
I have a couple questions. I'm going to assume that if I started out as a permit technician 1, and I've now risen, let's say, because let's say I'm halfway between the 41,000 and the 49,000.
We're going to get the correct numbers for you.
I know, but number 5, it should be 45,000 something to 55,000 something. But if let's say I was at 44,000 or 47,000 on line number 4, and I promote up, am I going to start back at the lower rate, or am I going to at least stay?
So when we consider promotions, there is a reference in their MOU where they receive a 5%, at least 5% increase. So they would not start at a lower range. They would start at 5%
Okay.
above what they are currently making.
And then the next question, just out of vital curiosity, who comes up with 3422.48? Why not 3425 or 3420? Where does this formula come from? Just out of, because I see it all the time.
Hold on, let me-
The decimals, yeah, it's our current salary table.
And then as over the years, as the percentage increases.
Yes.
Okay. I figured as such.
We're trying to work on those.
Okay, can we just make a motion to move it along so
I
that?
want to say something real quick.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, and I totally understand about the permit one because my husband is in construction and they are having a really hard time finding qualified people across the board because there's no technical schools anymore. And when they do get permit technicians, they are having to train them from scratch,
Right.
from the bottom. So I totally understand that. My pet peeve, and this happened way back when we had to let people go in 08, was that people, after the set number of years they were supposed to get their certifications, did not have them. And some of them we're talking 2, 3, 5 years down the road, and they never got their certifications. I want somebody in HR or the department head, in that department to make sure these people get their training and get certified. That's just my pet peeve. But I totally understand why you're doing it, and you do
Yeah.
have to do it in this case.
And we're working on a staff development program internally, starting it, where we're going to be working on a variety of things, specifically with requirements of training with different areas and departments. So we just have to be careful because a lot of the training has to be negotiated with the unions. This one specifically was the one that we had to negotiate with them, that somebody comes in, doesn't have it. We've agreed as a county that we're going to pay for that process for the employee. That's why the union has already agreed to this. But yes, you're right. There has to be tracking done. After a certain period, we have to be able to go ask and say, hi, has this been completed? And get a copy and put it on their employee personnel file. So, but before you make the motion, we need to give you the correct amounts for the salaries. So that way you have that.
So when you make it, just make it with the corrected salary adjustments. Does he
I
have? to
think number 5 would be
specifically say
around 40,
So maybe if you say range
45,000
Minimum and maximum.
3
hours.
something
Okay.
to 50-some thousand, 55, I think. Doing the math in my head.
technical.
That's pretty good math.
I say nobody does that
But it's so much
anymore.
for annual.
You're doing the math via phone.
I told the guy today at the store, he'd forgot, I gave him a list with
Because if I go
duplicates,
here, it's
triplicates
only gonna
of
have
certain
the
items,
one level.
and he was just adding it up as if it was one item each. I said, I think you got that wrong. He said, do you want me to do it for you? And he's getting his calculator out, and I said, this one's this much, this one's this much, this one's this much. How did you know that? Because I'm
Wow.
smarter than you. Of course, then I made a mistake on one because I thought it was 2 items instead of 3. But the math was right.
You still impressed him. I know, I used to add up like 4 columns in my head.
Yeah. Like triple Yahtzee, and I would be playing the last hand. Opponent was adding it up with a calculator, and I had my score before they.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, I think,
These are the annuals.
okay, so
Not
for
right.
range 191, the annual is 41,069 and 72 cents to 49,920 and 52 cents. Range 211 is 45,377.76 and 55,156.94. And then range 231 is 50,137.69 to 60,942.67.
6, 7.
67.
Okay, we got him a penny. It made sense.
Well, okay, one more question. While I had time to sit here and read some of this, the special requirements, there is no difference between a 2 and a 3 as far as certifications. They're identical. The only thing is the experience of being there 3 years.
Mhm.
So at that point, we shouldn't be training somebody to be a 3. They should already be trained because they're a 2. Is
Correct.
that a fair assumption?
Yes.
So what is the real difference with the 3? Is just paying them, calling them a 3 because of the experience,
Experience.
longevity? Okay.
Anybody else? Do we have a motion?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm looking at 5, 6, and 7. You have Inspector 1, Inspector 2, Inspector 3. Inspector 1, what's different between Inspector 1 and Inspector 3? Is that the education or what? The experience or what?
Which one?
Are you on the fire?
On all 3 of them. Which would be the one that would have more experience? I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, it's probably the one that gets paid the most. I mean, that's what you're requesting.
So, Commissioner Rios, are you talking about the permit technician?
Or the fire inspector?
Yes.
The permit technician, yes, the level 3 would be the highest level in experience, as well as the certification.
So number 1 will be the lowest.
Yes.
All right, all right.
I always wondered who made up that decision to call a 1 lower than a 3.
I was thinking it was.
It's
the other
backwards
way
to
Well,
me.
it has Roman
My mind
number-
doesn't work that way.
Roman numbers on there, so maybe the Romans. I'm just kidding.
Well, actually, it does make sense because that way, if you ever come up with a 4.
Yeah, you can go.
So
up.
I move we adopt this with the new numbers as read to us by staff.
Second.
Any more discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Atwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Fry,
Yes.
Commissioner Weisner,
Yes.
Commissioner Rios,
Yes.
Commissioner Myers.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote.
Okay. Staff reports?
So the only thing that we have to report is that TWE is, a staff member in our office is no longer working with us. Well, I don't really know how to say it. So she was working full-time with us, but has resigned and only came back to work extra help for about 25 hours. And then Sabrina has been promoted to a senior HR analyst, replacing TWE. And so she's going to be officially our new senior HR analyst in our department on May 1st. And we are recruiting for our HR analyst vacancies that we have in the department. So you're going to see some changes within our department. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up that Sabrina is moving up in the world. And yeah. We do have a lot of work that we're going on. Susan and I are just starting negotiations with all the 13 unions, and that's going to probably create a lot of impact on some of the work that we're doing, probably changes to the ordinance as a result of whatever we end up negotiating with the unions. So there's going to be a lot of that coming up. And just, things here and there that we're doing in our office, a lot of recruitments that we have going on. The county's opening up a little bit more now that COVID restrictions are easing up a little bit. So you'll see a lot of that, those changes as well. So that's really kind of the only updates that I had. Oh, and tomorrow's Administrative Professionals Day. So if you want to tell your administrative professionals, that would be great. Good. Yeah, just go like that. You're doing great. Thumbs up. So that's pretty much it from us.
I have to say, all of you who are doing the jobs like that, I always tell people, having been a school administrator, if the principal leaves for 3 days, the school runs, the secretary's out of the room for 20 minutes, everything is falling
stops.
apart. So it's all of you who, the supervisors, we can get one along without them. It's you people who do a great job for the county. So
We
thank
do
you.
appreciate it because we know there's a lot of, it kind of seems easy up here, but we know you do a lot of work behind the scenes. So we do appreciate
all the
that.
work, so
Sabrina,
thank you very much.
congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
What is our next meeting date?
Make a motion.
Our next meeting date would be the
Yeah.
18th of
18th.
May.
18th of May.
So it sounds like the hearings are not going to happen.
No, not right now. We don't have anything coming that we receive unless, Michelle, you have anything updates, but we don't have anything coming up right now.
Wonderful news.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I have to say, with the quality of work and our listening but with the rulings, Madera is a small enough county, people have to be talking, and I'm sure they're realizing you guys have the documentation there. That, it's really sad when you think that these people are coming in thinking, well, my friend Charlie says it's okay, and you guys have all the emails, so it is. I think I think a message has been sent throughout the county
Yes.
in our earlier discussion of evaluations, but there's room for improvement there.
And I want to mention, I don't think I actually said this, but the county council is working on some training, additional training for conflict of interest, and specifically hearing officer training. I believe they're going to try to do something with the planning commission and the civil service commission together on how to be a hearing officer. I think that's important for you guys to have, especially for them that planning commission also holds hearings, and they hold them on the 3rd floor, I believe. So as soon as we have more information from county council when that's going to happen, it's more likely we're going to have to set up a special meeting, a joint special meeting with the planning commission to have you come in and be trained as a hearing officers.
Are we gonna have it, Alba, we're gonna have any appeals coming up?
Not right now. We don't have anything scheduled.
Okay.
Okay, Joe made a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any, I know we've, or any,
all right.
but is there any scheduled trainings coming up on training supervisors on completing evaluations and completing program improvement plans?
Yes, so I actually met, I'm part of I'm overseeing the staff development committee, and we're creating two subcommittees after that. And one of them is to do specific workshops. So myself and our county librarian, Krista, are actually working on the continuing frisk training. So we actually met today. We're meeting every week to kind of finalize that training. And as soon as we have the actual video recording, we're going to post it out to supervisors, but we're trying to make sure that it's more specialized to the county, because the one they got, it was a general training. And Krista and I are working on how to actually do an evaluation, how to do a counseling memo, how to do all of this stuff, and train the supervisor and actually how to write them down to a interactive training. So hopefully
Yay.
by the end of May, we'll have some idea when we're going to have some dates.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Alba, as part of that training, problem that I've seen is that a lot of times people are just reluctant to do a proper write-up. Is there going to be any teeth to the training that, when you see things, you need to do something, not just, well, this is how you do the forms and all that stuff, but the actual physical requirement of doing something?
So we have to be careful with that, right? Because a lot of those items can be negotiable, and our county code is specific to how we do things, how we do written reprimands, and draft those. And Michelle can correct me if I'm wrong, because she usually works more on that. We can put templates together and how they're going to be used and what information is going to be required to put in those templates. So that's going to be part of our training, why we're incorporating the FRISC. It's called FRISC, but there's a reason for that training, and it's facts, rules, and 3 other things that I can't remember right now. But
Sure.
it has to do with a variety of a progressive intervention, right? So it has to do with how you address different situations with employees and the documentation that you put together. And so part of the training that we're going to do is, let's say you have this type of scenario, this is how you're going to address it, this is how you're going to write the memo, this is how you're going to do this, and there's going to be specific templates that we're going to require departments to use. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, but what we've seen in the past is the person didn't want to rock the boat, you might say, didn't want to do something because they're friends. But the best thing you can do is create a discipline culture that actually does something so people straighten up,
mhm.
instead of just letting it go, because then pretty soon they all say, well, we're not going to do anything anyway, so we'll just let it go.
Well, and actually, maybe Michelle can speak to this about it more, but now that we've done the FRISC training, we are pushing back on managers more. When we get information, or they do share with her, there's specific things that are missing, and we're sending those back. And they have to redo them. And we tell them, part of that handbook that we have now, say, okay, you need to go look at this page of the handbook.
Yeah.
So I'll let her say more
Good.
about that.
Yay.
Because my opinion is that some of these people, as I said earlier, have been disciplined when it should have been somebody else, but they didn't do the right steps, keep themselves out of hot water. So
Exactly.
they got punished when they really shouldn't have been the one. If they had blown the whistle, they might not have been punished.
You
But
have to-
that falls on the adult too.
right.
The adult in the room has to be an adult and do something.
So, like, for example, and Michelle and I talked about this, dates, timelines, what's being is very important. And so when we see things as, oh, well, we think that this happened on this time, well, that's not sufficient. There has to be on this date at this specific time, this happened, blah, blah, blah. I mean, in the template is addressing those things, is that you can't just estimate, you can't just do hearsay. There has to be specific things that are being done that you have to address. Not just because you don't like somebody or blah, it has to be related to their job,
Yep.
using the job description, and understanding, what it is that you can do to ensure that before the employee goes this way, you're intervening and getting them to do something better.
But also alluding to Tom's point, it's very difficult for people in our small county. We have small departments. We become friendly,
Yes.
and there are people we eat lunch with every day, and all of a sudden you have to do it. And I use this as a suggestion. I'm a popular teacher in our school district, and I'll meet kids who are going into law enforcement. I say, so what are you going to do if you see Doc driving 70 miles an hour in a 55 zone? And they said, some of them will say, well, I'll warn you. And I said, then I'm calling your watch commander.
Yeah.
I said, you are paid to keep the rules enforced. And so when somebody takes on, it's very hard. I've done evaluations, and I've even counseled teachers to leave the profession and go work for UPS or something. But the fact is that when somebody steps into that administrative role, they have to take on that tough part of it isn't personal, it's business, and they're counseling the person to save the job.
Right. I think
And-
it also has to do with ensuring that as they're growing and becoming supervisors, you're mentoring them, right? You have a mentor that's also assisting, and that's something that we also have to work on, is oh, now you're a supervisor, boom, run with it, right? There has to be some way where somebody that's going into that role, who's new in that role, has an ability to bounce off ideas to somebody else, or has somewhere they can talk to before they take on, doing the job they're supposed to be doing without any real guidance. So there's a lot of things that we also have to look at as part of, specifically with the first training that we're going to be doing is, there's different components, especially if you're at a supervisory level that is also a working supervisor. How are you going to address those things? Then you become a program manager, and then you become a department head. It's different how you are addressing things with employees, and you also have to look at those counseling memos, reprimands differently than you would as an employee. So that training right now that we're doing is kind of just a follow-up of the initial one from January. But as I was talking to Krista today, there's so many different ways that we can go from with that training, and require supervisors, when they start in with the county, you have to watch this video before you do anything else, right? So yeah, it just takes a little bit of time because you have to make sure that it's planned correctly. And when you have job descriptions that haven't been updated to make sure that we're requiring those trainings, then that can also cause some concerns. But we're working on it. We're trying to get there.
And this probably maybe comes in the interview when you're hiring a supervisor or doing a promotional thing. But there comes a time when you have to put that line between the employee and the supervisor. You no longer have lunches together, or, you have to try to separate yourself, even though it isn't fun. But we've all kind of been there. And yes, you can be friendly, and yes, once in a while you can go to lunch or, have a break together, but there's got to be that fine line in between. And that's probably should be an interview question. Would you be able to do this since you've been in this department 15 years, yet you obviously have friends? Would you be able to separate yourself? So that is an important component.
Asked a superintendent candidate one time, what are you going to do? You have to discipline one of your friends. And his answer was correct. I go by the book. And as a former coach, when kids started goofing around swimming and they didn't realize coach could catch them, they found themselves on the bottom of the pool for a split second or two. And then they quit goofing around because they never knew when that discipline was coming, but it was coming.
Okay, do we have a second for adjournment?
We did.
Oh, we did? Oh, yes, we did. Okay. How about a verbal aye?
Aye.
Aye.
There we go. We're adjourned.
Okay.
And Susan comes to join us and plays on her computer the whole time. Man. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay.